Dear Dawn, in spite of rocky beginnings when you were being poisoned by your mother's milk and were then allergic to many formulas that we tried, by the time you were a year old, you had more than made up for all your weight loss. Then, by the time you had lost your baby fat, slim clothes for boys were a godsend. Although you were the most sensitive little boy, I was the most insensitive parent. My focus was on your behavior, not on your feelings, and your behavior was a constant source of frustration for me. Your room always looked like the aftermath of a tornado until you would finally clean it up meticulously, which would last for about a minute. You took apart everything you were given, watches, radios, toys, etc. I don't even remember if you were ever able to put them back together. I was just focused on the destruction. And then there was the stealing from Save-On and flying the stolen kites in the flight patterns of Cloverfield Airport in Santa Monica, while I was out of town. Although I still think it was important that I help you take responsibility for your actions, I'm really sorry that I went so heavy on shaming you. School was never your strong suit. We didn't know much about ADD back then, so in many ways you sort of fell through the cracks, just sliding by. In a desperate effort to control you, I finally sent you off to Southern California Military Academy, where you got a raging case of head lice. Remember that? Your high school curricula consisted of every shop class possible, but I have to admit you came away with a lot of skills, including the ability to work on our cars and your mopeds. And I still think that someday you should take some pottery classes. You have real artistic talent that I hope you develop sometime. When I married Alvin, he was insistent upon making a man out of you. Looking back, I think he was more worried about his attachment to his own mother and was going to make sure you didn't stay attached to yours. Another mistake I regret was letting him be in charge of you while swallowing down my own discomfort. And of course the main thrust of that was to ship you off to the Air Force as soon as you finished high school. I can't believe how unconscious I was while that was all going on. When you came back from Desert Storm, you really had no place to go. Alvin and I were no longer together, and you were not welcome in my new home in Los Osos. Another thing I regret standing by and allowing to happen. So you moved to Denver, where Laura was living. Even though you managed to take care of yourself by driving truck and eventually began going into business with Ron and Gail, your relationships were pretty chaotic, and your living environment for several years was apparently unsuitable for your mother to visit, so it seems that we didn't see a lot of each other for a while. I still thought of you as being a teenager, which was borne out by your silly escapade into counterfeiting. I'd begun to wonder if you would ever grow up. But on May 11th, 2004, all that began to change. That's when you became a father to Christian Anthony Owen. The transformation I've seen in you, Don Buchanan Owen Jr., to this day brings tears to my eyes. I first visited you and Christian a couple of days before you were to be given permanent custody of your 5-month-old son. We picked him up at McDonald's and went from there to church. I could hardly contain my tears of gratitude to see how nurturing and loving you were, and to see how Christian relaxed and responded to your love for him. From then on, things seemed to get better and better for you as you opened yourself spiritually and to learning some new coping skills. You've become more concerned about and sensitive to Devon's needs, creating a stable home environment for him. You and I took a big leap in buying a beautiful new house in a really nice neighborhood where your boys can have opportunities they would never have had in the ghetto, as Di would say. And then along came Dylan, who has been a miniature Don if there ever was one. Last May, when you and Di married, and Di had asked me to be her maid of honor, I had no expectations except to enjoy your special day. However, your wedding day turned out to be one of the most special days of my life. What a joyous occasion, and what a beautiful family coming together in commitment to one another. It was a privilege for me to be there. So now you're passing one of life's major milestones, your 40th birthday. My wish for you is that you continue to experience more peace and joy in your life, and that you continue to be the amazing dad and husband that you are. Happy birthday, dear Don. You truly have become a good man.